The air was thick with smoke, illuminated by the flickering glow of flames rising from a luxurious apartment complex. Sirens wailed in the distance as chaos erupted on the street below. Residents evacuated in panic, clutching prized possessions while onlookers gathered, their faces etched with fear and helplessness. It was a scene of urgency and terror, one where time was measured in heartbeats. In the midst of it all stood Malik, a young black boy no older than 13, watching the inferno with wide, determined eyes. Malik had just finished a late evening errand for his grandmother, a bag of groceries slung over his shoulder, when the fire caught his attention. The upscale neighborhood wasn't part of his usual route, but a shortcut had brought him here. What was meant to be an ordinary trip home now unfolded into an extraordinary moment. As he approached the growing crowd, his ears caught a faint sound, a woman's voice, desperate and pleading for help. His eyes darted to a second-floor window, where her silhouette became visible, framed by the angry orange glow of the fire. The woman's cries were barely audible above the roar of flames and the buzz of commotion on the ground. "Help! Someone, please!" she called, her voice cracking with panic. Smoke billowed around her, and it was clear that her escape routes were cut off. Malik's gaze swept the crowd, hoping to see someone step forward, a firefighter perhaps. But no one moved. The fire truck was still blocks away, and fear anchored the bystanders to the ground. "Someone needs to do something," someone murmured, but their voice was swallowed by the collective paralysis of the moment. Malik dropped his bag of groceries. His mind raced, but his heart was steady. The hesitation of the adults around him only strengthened his resolve. Without a second thought, he sprinted toward the building, ignoring the shouts of warning from the crowd. "You can't go in there," a man yelled. "It's too dangerous." But Malik didn't stop. He wasn't thinking about the danger or the flames licking the sides of the building. All he could hear was the woman's voice, and all he could see was the fear in her shadowed outline. His sneakers hit the pavement hard as he reached the front entrance, where smoke poured out like an ominous welcome. Inside, the air was suffocating, thick with heat and ash. Malik tied his shirt over his nose and mouth, a makeshift mask against the choking smoke, and scanned the lobby for a staircase. His small frame maneuvered quickly through the haze as he ascended the steps 2 at a time. The flames were closer now, the heat biting at his skin, but he pressed on, guided by the faint cries growing louder. On the second floor he found her, a woman in her late 20s, clutching a small handbag as though it were her lifeline. Her tear-streaked face turned toward him, and her eyes widened in disbelief. "Who? What are you doing here?" she managed to gasp. "I'm here to help," Malik said, his voice muffled by the cloth over his face. "Come on, we have to move." The woman hesitated, coughing as smoke curled around her. There's no way out." "Yes, there is," Malik assured her, offering his hand. "You just have to trust me." With no time to argue, she took his hand, and Malik guided her toward the stairs. The flames roared louder, and the walls seemed to close in with every step. But Malik's determination didn't waver. He kept his focus on the path ahead, every movement precise and deliberate. The pair reached the ground floor just as the fire department arrived, the flashing lights illuminating Malik's soot-covered face and the woman's tearful expression. As they emerged from the building, the crowd erupted in a mix of relief and astonishment. Firefighters rushed to contain the blaze, while paramedics surrounded the woman, ensuring she was unharmed. Malik stood to the side, catching his breath, his heart still pounding. The woman, now seated on the curb with an oxygen mask, motioned for him to come closer. Her eyes, filled with gratitude, met his. "You saved my life," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't even know your name." "Malik," he said simply, brushing ash from his arms. "I just did what anyone should." The woman reached for his hand, clutching it tightly. "You're a hero, Malik. A real hero." As the night wore on and the chaos subsided, Malik slipped away quietly, eager to avoid the spotlight. He didn't think of himself as a hero, just someone who did the right thing. Little did he know, his act of bravery would spark a chain of events that would change his life forever. The boy had always been known in his community for his bravery and compassion, traits that shone brightly, despite the modest circumstances of his upbringing. Raised in a small apartment with his younger siblings and a single mother working tirelessly to provide for them, he had grown up understanding the value of selflessness and resilience. His days were often spent balancing school, helping his family, and performing odd jobs around the neighborhood. These responsibilities only fueled his dreams of becoming a firefighter or rescue worker, careers where he could make a tangible difference in the lives of others. From a young age, he had shown an uncanny ability to remain calm in crises. Whether it was helping a neighbor during a medical emergency or intervening to stop a playground scuffle, his resourcefulness and quick thinking had earned him the respect of those around him. Though his family struggled to make ends meet, they were rich in values that stressed the importance of kindness and courage, qualities that shaped the boy into someone who never hesitated to step up when others were in need. Across town, the millionaire and his girlfriend lived a life of luxury that seemed worlds apart from the boy's reality. The millionaire was a successful entrepreneur with a reputation for hard-nosed business acumen and an extravagant lifestyle. However, his relationships often mirrored his approach to business, detached, transactional, and devoid of deep emotional connection. While his wealth and influence had brought him immense power, they had also created a bubble that distanced him from the struggles of ordinary people. The girlfriend, a poised and intelligent woman, often found herself caught between her glamorous life and a yearning for authenticity. Though her partner showered her with gifts and attention in public, she often felt alone in their sprawling penthouse. On the evening of the fire, she had stayed home to rest while the millionaire attended a high-profile event across the city. She was enjoying a quiet moment when the smell of smoke began to fill the air. Panic set in as the fire quickly engulfed the lower floors of the apartment. Trapped on the second floor with no clear way out, she screamed for help. Her cries blending with the chaotic noise of sirens and the murmurs of onlookers gathering below. Despite her privileged life, in that moment, she was as vulnerable as anyone could be, desperately hoping for someone to come to her rescue. As the fire raged on, most of the crowd stood frozen in fear or preoccupied with filming the scene on their phones. It was then that the young boy, who had been walking home after running an errand, noticed the flames and heard her faint cries. Instinct took over, and without a second thought he moved toward the building, determined to help. The boy's path had always been guided by his unwavering desire to help others, and on this fateful evening, his bravery would set the stage for an extraordinary series of events. Little did he know that his actions that night would not only save a life, but also bridge two vastly different worlds in a way that neither he nor the millionaire could have ever anticipated. The flames licked the sides of the apartment building, casting an ominous glow against the night sky. The acrid smell of smoke filled the air, and the distant wail of sirens seemed painfully slow in arriving. Most of the crowd stood frozen, their faces painted with fear and helplessness. Amidst the chaos, the cries for help from a second-floor window grew fainter. No one dared to move closer, no one except a young black boy, whose courage would soon make him the unlikely hero of the night. Without hesitation, the boy sprinted toward the burning building, his mind focused solely on the faint cries. He pushed past the throng of onlookers, ignoring their shouts to stop. As he approached the building, the heat radiating from the flames was nearly unbearable, but he didn't falter. Smoke billowed from the windows, making it difficult to see, but the boy covered his mouth with his shirt and plunged into the darkened stairwell. Inside, the scene was chaotic. Smoke filled the corridors, and debris littered the floor. Flames crackled ominously nearby, threatening to engulf the entire structure. The boy moved quickly, his small frame allowing him to navigate the cramped, smoke-filled spaces with surprising agility. Guided by the faint cries and his sharp instincts, he made his way toward the source of the sound. On the second floor, he found her. The woman lay crumpled near a window, overcome by smoke inhalation and too weak to move. Her designer clothes were singed and her face was streaked with soot, but she was alive. The boy knelt beside her, his voice steady and reassuring despite the chaos. "I'm here to help. I'm going to get you out." With a strength that belied his size, the boy lifted her onto his back, balancing her weight carefully as he retraced his path through the smoke-filled corridors. The heat was oppressive, and every step was a battle against the choking air and encroaching flames. His lungs burned, but he pressed on, his determination unwavering. The onlookers outside gasped as the boy emerged from the building, carrying the unconscious woman. His face was streaked with ash, his breathing labored, but his eyes were resolute. He gently laid her down on the grass, away from the danger, just as the first fire truck arrived. Paramedics rushed over, administering oxygen and checking her vitals. She was alive, thanks to the boy's bravery. As the paramedics worked, the boy stood to the side, leaning against a tree to catch his breath. He waved off the murmurs of admiration from the crowd, insisting he'd only done what needed to be done. His humility struck a chord with those who had witnessed the rescue, many of whom were too stunned to react in the moment. When the woman regained consciousness in the ambulance, her first words were to ask about the boy who had saved her. She clutched the paramedic's hand, her voice weak but urgent. "I need to thank him. Please find him." By the next morning, news of the rescue had spread across the city. Headlines lauded the bravery of the young boy who had risked his life to save someone he didn't know. The woman, still recovering in the hospital, recounted the harrowing ordeal to reporters, her voice filled with gratitude and awe as she described the boy's courage and selflessness. The story reached the ears of the millionaire, who had spent the night reeling from the news of the fire. Hearing the full account of the boy's actions, he was overcome with gratitude and guilt. His girlfriend had nearly lost her life while he was preoccupied with work. The thought of a young stranger risking everything to save her shook him to his core. Determined to meet the boy who had saved his girlfriend, the millionaire canceled his engagements for the day and instructed his team to find him. "This boy saved her life," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "The least I can do is thank him properly." As the millionaire set out to meet the boy, the stage was set for an encounter that would forever change the lives of everyone involved. For the boy, it was simply an act of courage. For the millionaire, it was the beginning of a journey that would challenge his values and priorities in ways he never expected. The next morning, The millionaire, accompanied by his girlfriend, stood outside a modest home on the edge of town. The house was small, but well kept, its surroundings a testament to the family's hard work and resilience. With the guidance of locals who eagerly shared the boy's address, the couple had finally arrived to meet the young hero who had risked everything to save her. When the boy's mother opened the door, she was startled to find the well-dressed couple on her porch. The millionaire introduced himself, his voice earnest as he asked to meet her son. Moments later, the boy appeared, still wearing the same humble demeanor that had captivated everyone who had heard the story. His eyes widened at the sight of the millionaire, but he stood tall, greeting them politely. The millionaire extended his hand, his gratitude evident in his tone. "You saved her life. I can't thank you enough. You're a hero." The boy, slightly embarrassed, shook his head. "I'm not a hero. I just did what anyone would have done." His voice was calm, but his words carried a weight that silenced everyone. "I saw someone in trouble. I couldn't just stand there and do nothing." The simplicity of his response left the millionaire and his girlfriend speechless. For all his wealth and power, the man realized he had never encountered such raw courage and humility. The boy's refusal to bask in the limelight only deepened their admiration. Curious, the millionaire began asking questions about the boy's life. He learned about the boy's daily routines, helping his family, excelling in school, and dreaming of becoming a firefighter someday. Each detail painted a picture of resilience, responsibility, and a quiet determination that belied his young age. As the conversation continued, the millionaire couldn't help but reflect on his own life. He had spent decades building his empire, accumulating wealth and status, yet moments like this reminded him of what he had lost along the way, a connection to the values that truly mattered. Seeing this boy, who had so little yet gave so much, forced him to confront the stark differences between their lives. This boy didn't just save her life, the millionaire thought. He's teaching me something I've forgotten, what it means to care, to act selflessly. By the time they left the boy's home, the millionaire was deeply moved. He promised himself that this encounter would not end with a simple thank you. The boy's courage and humility deserved more than words or fleeting recognition. It was a moment that would transform not just the boy's life, but also the millionaire's understanding of what it meant to truly give back. The following morning, the quiet neighborhood was abuzz with excitement. News trucks lined the street, and neighbors gathered outside the boy's home, eager to witness what was unfolding. The millionaire, standing alongside his girlfriend, addressed the gathered crowd with a heartfelt speech. "Heroes come in many forms," he began, his voice steady but emotional. "But rarely do they come with such humility and selflessness. This young man didn't just save my girlfriend's life. He reminded all of us what courage and compassion truly mean." The boy stood beside his family, visibly uncomfortable with the attention, but proud nonetheless. His mother's eyes glistened with tears as she held his shoulder, overwhelmed by the unfolding moment. With a dramatic pause, the millionaire continued, "To express my gratitude, I want to ensure that this young man has every opportunity to achieve his dreams. I am offering him a full scholarship to any school or program he chooses so he can pursue his passion for helping others." The crowd erupted into applause, and the boy looked up at the millionaire. The evening sun cast a golden hue over the bustling neighborhood, now alive with laughter and chatter as families gathered around the newly constructed community center. The building stood as a beacon of hope and transformation, a tangible symbol of how one act of bravery had set forth a ripple effect of change. The boy, no longer the timid figure navigating life's challenges alone, stood proudly at the center of it all. His dream of becoming a firefighter or rescue worker was now firmly within reach, thanks to the education and mentorship he was receiving. The millionaire, whose life had taken a profound turn, stood nearby, watching with quiet admiration. The events of that fateful night had reshaped his world, challenging his once self-centered perspective. Where his wealth had once been a measure of his own achievements, it was now a tool to empower others. He had redirected his resources toward causes that truly mattered: community upliftment, education, and initiatives that would create lasting change. His relationship with his girlfriend had also deepened, no longer based on superficiality, but rooted in shared values and a commitment to make a difference. The woman, vibrant and full of gratitude, was seated with the boy's family, her presence a reminder of how lives can intertwine in the most unexpected ways. The boy's mother clasped her hands to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Her gratitude was palpable, and she nodded repeatedly, unable to speak. "And lastly," the millionaire said, his voice firm, "I'm committing to making a difference in this community. I will donate funds to improve local resources, from schools to public safety programs, so others can thrive as he has." The crowd roared with approval, many wiping away tears at the sheer generosity of the gesture. The boy, ever humble, finally spoke. "Thank you, sir," he said quietly, his voice cracking with emotion. "But I don't just accept this for myself. I accept it for my family and my community. They're the reason I've come this far." The millionaire nodded, his respect for the boy growing even deeper. "You're not just a hero, you're a leader, and I want to help you become everything you're capable of being." In the weeks that followed, the boy's life underwent a remarkable transformation. He enrolled in a prestigious preparatory program for aspiring firefighters and rescue workers, his tuition fully covered. His family's home, once modest and weather-worn, was renovated with the financial support provided by the millionaire. The community center received a grant that allowed for new programs and resources, including a first aid training class inspired by the boy's heroic actions.